My name is Anthony Ruggiano Jr., and I want to welcome everybody. And don't forget, if you like my content, please hit the subscribe button and ring the bell. Also, don't forget to check out my Patreon. Membership started $1. I got a lot of new content on there. I wanted to go live tonight. There's a lot of things happening. I got this thing coming up in Vegas. I'll be out there at the Mob Museum in Las Vegas, downtown Las Vegas, on August 7th. The first shows start. I'll be there for 5 days. So if you're in the area, come check it out. If you want to have a meet and greet, DM me or go to my website, Anthony Ruggiano Jr. at gmail.com, and we'll try to make it happen. I'm looking at my pictures here. I got all these pictures. I got all my pictures lined up for my presentation. It's going to be real good. I'm looking forward to it. So I'm here now to take some questions. I really don't have any topic to talk about. A lot of things happening online. I mean, I wanted to talk about something, but I don't know if I want to even give him the time of day to talk about it. Some people that never did a day in jail, that never even owned a car, they used to take a bus to the Burger Nut Fish Club, want to call people rats, but I'm not going to mention their names. But the rats aren't going to come on rat this and rat that. And we know that's slang in the street, which is fine. It is what it is. But some people shouldn't be using words like that because they never even did a day in jail. So who knows what they would have done? But anyway, I got a question here. Thank you, Anthony. I would like to know more about Mike Talley. For example, what was his last name? His last name started with a C. Or T. His last name started with a T. It was something like Talley, but there's what's there to tell. He was a childhood friend of O'Neill's, became a made guy, became a captain, did something really stupid, and got chased, and got chased. Lucky he didn't get killed. Did Mr. Neal ever attend Catholic church like other mob guys seem to have? I'm just wondering. To my knowledge, I don't believe he did. I know very few wise guys that went to church outside of Jojo Carrazza. This guy, Mike Catalano, used to go to church. A couple of them did. I don't know many more. Yeah, Johnny. Yeah, there's Johnny D from Lefferts Boulevard and 135th Avenue. Of course it does, yeah. He was a good friend of mine. He was a big coke dealer. He went into a coma from drugs and alcohol. Became a vegetable, passed away years later. I knew his whole family. They were all drug dealers. Good guys, but tough. He was a tough kid, John. He was tough. My old man liked him. He was a good kid. Here comes another one. Hold on. Gotti was the worst thing that ever happened to the mob. Frankie DeChico should have been boss. Gotti was way too public and visible. Look at the most successful bosses like Gambino. They were not flashy at all. They stayed alive and out of prison. Guys like Gotti, Scarfo, who were out there paid the heavy price. Frankie was never going to be the boss. He was happy being the underboss. John would have never played second fiddle after Paul Castellano. There's no way he would have done that. Rouge, what happened to the guy who killed Guido? He went to jail. The guy that shot Guido Dolls went to jail. He got arrested. I believe he got arrested and went to jail. I never heard of him getting killed. He was not a mob guy or nothing. He was just a player in the Ziganet game that killed him. I went to his funeral. Speaking of Guido, he had two sons, Guido Jr. and Eddie. And Eddie was a club manager. He managed clubs. And Bruce Willis, who's very ill now, was a bartender back then in Manhattan. And Bruce Willis, I think the club's name was the Kangaroo Club or something like that. But the club that Eddie Dolls was managing, Bruce Willis was the bartender. And when Bruce Willis got the part in Moonlighting, Guido's son threw him a going away party when he moved out to Hollywood in that club that he managed. They were very, very good friends. Did I ever meet FBI Jackie Garcia when he was undercover? No, I never did. Saying hi, Shaylo, saying hi from Merrick Island. How you doing? How's everything? Caitlin, did you hook up with the girls you took to the Copa? 90% of the time I did. Yeah. It's a funny story. I'll tell you a funny story. There was this girl that I was really hot for. I mean, she was gorgeous, and finally I got her to come on a date with me, and I took her to the Copa, and she was really impressed, and we were drinking and eating, and this was the night, and we left the Copa to go get a room, and it was a freezing cold winter night, and my battery in my car went dead, and it like killed the whole vibe, and I never got another date with that girl again. But most of the time, yeah, the Copa was pretty good. Orlando M. Anthony, do you miss your dad, Andy, and those days when he was around running things? Oh, of course I miss him every day. Without a doubt, I miss him. It's a different world when he was around. Was Tato a well-respected captain? Yeah, definitely he was. He was around a long time. He was around a long time, from back in the day. Francesco, question in the life, if a made guy introduces himself to another made guy for another family without being introduced, can he be? Made guys don't do that. That's a no-no. You don't introduce yourself as a wise guy. Another friend has to do it. Yeah, you can't go around telling people you're a wise guy. Back in the day, you could have got killed for that. You can't just go around announcing that I'm a made guy. You know what I mean? Russell Wade, Anthony, I've been a fan and subscriber of your channel from day one. I've even made a couple of donations. Great channel. Tell you how it is. Thank you. Appreciate that. Angel, Anthony, was there ever a dirty hippie types or cringy liberals that ever tried to get in the mob or hang out wise guys? I don't know. I don't know of any hippies. We really didn't really pay attention to liberals or conservatives back then. So, it's different. Don't take this something. Maybe you could go into some philosophy of some of these gangsters. Why did they do what they did? Why did Crazy Joe connect with blacks? And why did your dad hate Crazy Joe? Crazy Joe was Crazy Joe. He hooked up with them when he was in prison. He wanted to change things. He wanted, he thought they were good to have in his corner. And my father didn't like Crazy Joe because he didn't like how he behaved. He didn't like what he did, and he didn't like what he was doing with Tony Lee's cousin, Sonny. What's up, Anthony? Who was more dangerous, Tommy DeSimone or your brother-in-law, Frankie? Tommy was very dangerous. So was Frankie, but Tommy, I would say Tommy, definitely. Angel Designs. What would I give to have been born in the time to go to the Copa? Yeah, the Copa was the spot. And I was talking to my daughter about that yesterday. I saw so many great shows there. I saw James Brown there. I saw Bobby Darin there. I saw Don Rickles there. I mean, I saw so many. Saw Tom Jones there. That was the first time I went to the Copa. Matter of fact, I got something right here from the Copa that I'm bringing to Vegas. This was what they used to sell in the Copa. Little pocket pictures. That's my father and my mother. This camera girl used to come around and they used to look at how much it cost $1. It says $1 on it. Back in the 70s, they used to sell that at the Copa. My real page, did my father ever go to Syracuse? Not to my knowledge. No, I went to Syracuse. BCS barbecue. Were there ever any wise guys in Texas? I don't know about Texas, but there was definitely wise guys in New Orleans, that's for sure. I'm sure they roamed on into Texas. From B, love the channel. Keep the stories coming. Thank you. B. Buckella. Lori Mazzola. Anthony, not to dig deep into something that may be too personal to you, but how was your mom through all of your father's time spent in prison? Did it make her stronger, weaker? I love the show. The woman, like, my mother and father weren't together when my father went to jail. My father was living in Florida. My mother was living in New York. But when my father got out, my father went back home. It was what it was. It didn't make her weaker or stronger. It just was, was what it was. Renee Griffin. Anthony, do you remember when the families had a meeting? Some would bring their sons and kids who would play in the room until the meeting was over. I brought my son on a few sit downs when I had them in clubs and stuff and bars, and he would play on the pinball machines. So yeah, that happened. That happened. Here we go. Michael Knight. You should talk about the relationship between Joe Watts and Joe Watts and Jimmy Burke. I don't even know if they had a relationship, Joe Watts and Jimmy Burke. I don't remember seeing them together. I saw Joe Watts many, many times in John's company. I met Joe Watts at clubs. Matter of fact, the last time I saw Joe Watts, I'll tell you, the last time I saw Joe Watts was right before I went away, and there was a club in Manhattan, ironically called Rouge. The Rouge you put on your face. It was a nice club. And the last time I saw Joe Watts, I went in there by myself to meet a girl, and Joe Watts was in there with Tough Tony from Corona. The two of them were in there drinking martinis, and they invited me over to their table, and I hung out with them for about an hour. And that was the last time I saw Joe Watts. Of course, I went to prison after that, and I have never seen him again. Thanks for the donation, Angel. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Angel Designs. Check it out. Thank you. From Mr. Eric Epps, whatever it's time. Anthony, have you watched Out Till Night yet? I watched it. I have a hard time watching De Niro nowadays because of, he cracked up. But it was a good movie. It was very good. I don't believe it all. But I think they really were pretty good with it. The acting was really good. The story was awesome. So, yeah, I enjoyed it. Caitlin, were non-mob related people allowed in social clubs? Yeah, as long as they knew somebody. Yeah, there was a lot of guys, legitimate guys that came to Cafe Liberty, but they were guys from the neighborhood, guys we all knew. They weren't strangers. We didn't let strangers into the club. Let's see what else we got here. Bangkok. Hi, Anthony. How many years in total did Fat Andy do in prison? I know he did 13 bid toward the end of his life, but other than that, how long did he do? Tony Lee did no time. Tony Lee did time. He did time. Tony Lee did time, a couple of years here and there. My father did it all together in his whole life. He probably did about over 20 years between all the bids he did. He did it well over 20 years. Billy Brutus, best channel in the Gene. The Big Mark too. Well, I don't want to talk about Big Mark because Big Mark likes to call people names, but I don't need to say his name, but you know who the rats are. Big Mark, we'll get to him at another time. Let's see what else we got here. Did you know anybody from members of New Orleans? I met guys from New Orleans in the 70s at the Diplomat, but I don't remember their names. But I did meet a few wise guys. Yes, I did. From Francesco, did you think Gotti betrayed Sammy from under the bus? I think Sammy was going to get thrown under the bus at the trial. I spoke to Sammy about it many times, according to the tapes. A touch of gray. How do I stay clean in a party town like Asbury Park during the summer? How do you stay clean? You don't go around where they're using. Go to a meeting. Make friends that aren't using. Hang out with them. Hang out with people that are in recovery. Don't hang out in bars. Don't hang out where they're getting high. make changes, make some changes. Billy Brutus, you should make a movie about your father. I can't believe nobody has approached you yet. I'm working on it. I'm working on it, Billy. Believe me, we're working hard on it. Did Fat Andy want to be a boss? Of course he did. Who doesn't want to be a boss? What else do we got? That's it so far. Here they come. Angel, I guess this is from Angel. Let my father rest in peace. Yep, definitely. That's all people want to talk about is your father. It's amazing. Everywhere I go, everybody I talk to, it always gets it back around to him. I really, really try not to, but it's just that's all they want to talk about. And I try to do him justice, but that's all anybody wants to hear. It's crazy. Every time, every interview I do, every show I go on, it always goes back to him. It just always goes back to him. I got close to it, yeah. Russell Wade, do you still have any contact with the current? No, I don't have no contact with them. And if I did, I want to talk about it anyway, but I don't. Angel Designs, great advice, Anthony. From Jay, hope you're doing great. I'm doing good, thank you. Anthony, did you meet DB? Yeah, many times. I met him many, many, many times. A real good guy. I met him many times. Always liked him. A touch of gray. Thanks, I'm trying. Keep trying. Keep day at a time, man. Keep it real simple. Keep it really, really simple. What did you think of DB? I thought he was a good guy, classy guy, always treated me well. Um, sharp guy, very wealthy. William Brooklyn, there are fake angel accounts going around. That's okay. You know, that was a good question anyway. Do I think Sammy should have took declined taking out Paul? No, I don't think he should have. Barry Levine, do you remember when they had a diet candy called Andes and then the disease AIDS ruined their business? No, I have no idea. I don't remember that at all. Boston Smitty, would anything have been different if Fat Andy was on the street when Gotti made his move? Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. He would have been right in the mix. Fat Andy would have been right in the middle of it all. Yeah, for sure. He would have he would have been right in the middle of it all. Debbie Clark, are nicknames because so many guys had the same name or because of something they did? No, it just was something that happened, it's just a thing. It was an Italian mob thing, nicknames. It was known because we all had the same name. It was just something we did. This is another question that knocks Angel. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to knock Angel. So I'm not going to respond to any questions about knocking the Gotti family. Anthony, tell me a story about DB. DB, was a porn distributor. You know what I mean? And I used to tease him all the time about that. And he missed his boat. Imagine if he didn't get killed with the internet, with the porn and the internet, he would have been a billionaire, a gazillionaire. So this must be a fake angel account because she's asking me to come on her show, and I don't believe that at all. So this must be a fake Angel Gotti account. So I don't believe that's true. I mean, it would be nice, but I don't believe it. Let's see what else we got here. How is DB? So, porn. Mr. Curtis, my birthday soon. Happy birthday. Gabriel, Mr. Ruggiano, give me a funny story about your dad when you were growing up, looking great. So, a funny story about my dad. So we were at a sit down in Florida, and so what is there? 50 states in America, in the United States. How many states are there? 50 states, right? Um, we were at a sit down in Florida, and the guy told my father, things are different down here. You might not be recognized. And my father told them that he was recognized in so many states, but it was more states than there were. And his friend Larry tapped him on the shoulder and told him to write him out the states. And he told the guy, well, if they make more states, I'll be recognized in them states too. We were hysterical. Then he told the guy, what does the sun toast your brain down here? What do you Florida guys get toasted in the head? But he had a lot of good one-liners. My own man, he had a lot of them. From Bacala, your dad was a legend. Thank you very much. BCSBBQ, do you feel like gambling is still good to earn with, or is it too watered down? No, I mean, it's probably good. It all depends on, the volume you have and the customers you have. And, I guess today it has to do with your website and all that other stuff. So it's a whole different ball game out there now to become a bookmaker. Anthony, when can I get a T-shirt like that from Gangster? Just DM us. Go on my website. Go on my YouTube channel, and you'll see it comes up. The store comes up. So Paul's father and mother were Carl's uncles, and yeah, they were all first cousins. They were all related. Matthew, hi Anthony, do you know if your dad worked with Tommy Egro when he was in Florida? I know Egro was out there around the same time. Yeah, I told that story many times. That's how my father got in trouble. My father got sent for by Paul Castellano to service Tommy A in Florida, and to introduce him to the Travicantes over a bingo hall problem. And my own man did that. And then Tommy asked my own man to service his guys in Florida when he wasn't here. And one of them was Joe Dogs. And my father got 40 years. And Tommy Profit did not die in prison. John G. Did Gene Gotti not take a plea agreement because of drugs? Was that his point? No. John didn't want anybody taking pleas. John made him go to trial. Jeannie could have got like 10 years from what I understand, but John made them go to trial and get convicted of that. It had nothing to do with the charges. It was just that he didn't want anybody taking pleas. This is from, I can't really pronounce your name. I'm so sorry. Dapper Dale or something. Hello, sir. Just want to show my appreciation. Wish you all the best. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Joey, bag full of donuts. Hey, did you know Nicky Glasses? Of course, I knew Nicky Glasses. I knew him very, very well. Bangkok Baller. Anthony, did you know Mikey Scars around the street? Yes, I knew Mikey Scars. Yes, I knew Mikey Scars. Johnny, were you close to Tony's brother, Mikey? Oh, definitely. I was close. I know him all my life. I worked for him for many, many, many years. I was very close to him. Mikey Gal. Let's see what else we got here. What did your father think of T. Greg or Scarpa? My father liked them. He respected them. He had a couple of sit-downs with Greg Scarpa. My father got along with everybody, almost everybody. There was a couple of guys he really didn't care for. and he let them know it too. One of them was Patty Mack, but that's a story for another day. Anything else coming up, or should we say goodbye? Oh, here's one. Francesco, who do you think was a better boss, Gotti or Paul? Totally different people. Totally different. Totally different. John was more of a street guy, was more for the street guy. Guys made way more money than John. John was way more generous, way more helpful. Definitely. LTB, evening from Sicily. Hey, what's up? I'm half Sicilian, don't forget that. My mother was Sicilian. There's one from Debbie. Question, do you know why the Castellano shooters dress the same? Why Russian? Yeah, they're just the same to fit in. It worked really well. Russell Wade, tell us about Patty Mack. Now, that's a story for another day. That'll be on my Patreon, that story. I might have told parts of it, but I'll tell it again. Matter of fact, John Gotti got involved in that story too. So, and Tony Lee and John at a wedding. But I'll tell that story another time. Anthony, did your father ever tell you to stay out of the life? Yeah, he didn't want me in the life. He tried to disillusion me, but it didn't work. Trent S. Hey, Anthony, do you know the guys behind the channel, behind the red doors of the Bergen? Also, do you believe those? I know them. I don't want to talk about them right now. Kevin, I know Kevin did a lot of time. He's a really good guy. The other guy, I don't really want to talk about him at this point. But if he keeps on using the word rat, we may have some stuff to talk about. But other than that, they know a lot of stories. They were around a lot. But I'll get to that at another time. I wish we could all get together and we could have a real hell of a conversation, but I know that's not going to happen. Let's see, Daniel, do you know any of the Banana Family guys? Yeah, I knew a couple of them when I was out there. Vincent, good evening, Anthony. You're a great storyteller and historian of the life and recovery. Keep inspiring others, bro. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Carlos, did your father ever have a sit-down with Paul Castellano? Yeah, many times. I was involved in one of them. Paul Castellano came to my wedding too in 1977. Buckster, if Fat Andy became the boss instead of Gotti, what position do you think you would have got? If one? That's a big if. Let's see. Oh, here's a good one. Orlando Anthony from Miami, Florida. Did you ever hear the Cuban mob family that were connected with all the families and ended up moving to south to Miami, Florida? They were called the Corporation. Do I know them? I had sit-downs with them in Jamaica. They were opening up number spots in Jamaica where we had number spots, and we had a big sit-down with them and came to another agreement. That's a good story that I'm going to tell in the near future. But yes, I did have dealings with the Corporation. I'm surprised you even know about them. But yeah, they were big Cuban mob guys. They had a lot of money. They had a lot of junk money. But yeah, we had a beef with them. But it was all straightened out. And we made an agreement with them in Jamaica, Queens. Joey Bag of Donuts, do I regret telling? Sometimes I do and sometimes I don't, Joey. Sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. Chief Lewis Crackrock was a big dealer, wasn't he? Very big, very big. His brother was one of the biggest. Sally was one of the biggest. Let's see what's this. Russell Wade. We can't wait for that. Good night. God bless Anthony from Nottingham, England. I'm sorry, Russell. but I will tell the story. I'll send it to you, buddy. Oh, this is the guy, my friend from Sicily. I had no idea that you were half Sicilian. Yep. My my grandparents on my mother's side both came over from Sicily at the turn of the century. They were both born in Sicily. Daniel, who was the five families besides yours you were the closest to? Who of the five families besides yours were you the closest to? We were close to everybody, really. I mean, I think the closest friends we had, family friends, probably were Genovese guys, but we were close with everybody. This is from Toronto. Good evening, Anthony from Toronto. How were the social clubs back in the day? They were great. That was the place to be. That was our office. That's where everything started and ended. Tucker's Doghouse. Anthony, who was the highest earner? Oh, there was a lot of high earners. Michael Francis was probably one of the biggest earners. There was a lot of big earners. DB was a big earner. A lot of good earners. Alex, why did the mob turn on Mikey Scars in 2001? You're going to have to talk about Mikey, about that. Mikey got shelved. He didn't like it. I don't know why. I don't think he should have got shelved. He was very close with them. I know they did Mikey wrong, but, you would have to ask Mikey that question. Debbie Clark, have a safe and fun time in Vegas. I wish I could be there. Yeah, we do too, Debbie. Chris, have you spoken to Lenny DiMaria recently? No, not at all. I haven't spoke to Lenny at all. This is can you talk about what caused Ruggiero to get shelved? Yeah, the tapes, and Paul wanted the tapes, and John had no choice. John had to shelve them. Francesco, did you ever run across Joe Pistone? Yes, I did, in the Diplomat Hotel in Florida. When they were down there, he was down there with the Banana crew. Bangkok Ball. I'm smoking a Marlboro Red for you right now, just for old time's sake. Thank you. That was my brand. I love Marlboro Reds. Chris, did the Gambino family have business out in Long Island? They had businesses everywhere. The Swede, hey, Anthony from Sweden. The question, do you know if Sanibel ever dealt drugs? He said he never did. If he said he never did, he never did. He wasn't selling drugs, I know, when he was in the street, when he was the underboss, or when he was, a captain, not that I know of. Did I ever do any business with Sonny Saccone? Yes, I did. He banked on numbers for a while. Very, very wealthy guy. Very wealthy. Which family had the corner on Fresh Pond Road in Linden, Queens? I don't remember, to tell you the truth. Fresh Pond Road. I don't remember. Well, you got to make a movie with Fat Andy. I'm trying. Chris, did you know Mike Anati? Yeah, I knew Mike Anati good. We were good friends. I still love going out with Mike Anati. He was a really good guy. A lot of balls. What was Tony Duck's career like? I didn't know Tony. He was above my pay grade. LTB, Anthony, Murder Inc., who was the worst? They were all bad. Happy Mayoni, my wife's uncle, the Dasher, Abendando, they were psychopathic murderers. They were killers. I don't think there was any worse. They were all really good, really bad. Anthony, did you know Pete the Killer? Yeah, I knew Pete the Killer. I used to go to Missouri. So when my father was in the prison hospital in Missouri, where John Gotti died, when my father was in the prison hospital out there, Paul Vario was out there with him, and we used to fly out there to visit him. Tony Lee, myself, Pete the Killer, Danny Cateo, Paulie Vario's son, and we would fly out to Missouri, and we would stay in the Intercontinental Hotel out there, and we would visit them. And we would go to the prison in the Missouri, in the hospital prison, and we would visit them. I made a couple of trips out there with them. So yeah, I did know them. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Hold on, I think I got one more. Let me see what I got here. Hold on. When did they start calling your father Fat Andy? It started probably, I would say, in the early 60s. I don't really know who started it, but it never bothered him. I mean, he had that nickname practically my whole life. Um, and that's what he was known by. That was his name, Fat Andy, So, you know, Chris, this is the last one. Chris, how hard was it being locked up in the 90s when the Yankees won three in a row? Let's go. It was hard, but I tortured everybody. I tortured all the Boston guys. I tortured the COs that rooted against the Yankees. It was crazy in there. It was crazy in there, but I wish I was in the street just to spend them days with my son. That would have been cool. Um, do I know any made guys that weren't full blood at the time? Yeah. Uh, Buddy the Cat, Joe the Cat's son, John Jr. wasn't 100% Italian. All right, fellas, I'm going to wrap that up right now. My throat is getting a little raspy. I worked all day today. I'm a little tired. I got to work again tomorrow at 8 o'clock in the morning. I do still have a full-time job. That's why I need everybody to join my Patreon so I could sort of slow down with the job. I'm getting old. I have a birthday coming up in 2 months. So I'm looking to retire from my day job and just do this full-time. So whatever, if you could help me out, that would be nice. And Ryan just did. I want to thank Ryan Brown for his donation. Thank you, Ryan. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Don't forget, my name is Anthony Ruggiano Jr. And if you like the content, hit the subscribe button and ring the bell. And don't forget to check out my Patreon. Memberships start at $1. Check it out. And everybody that's struggling out there with addiction, I just got a little DM here about a relapse. Just keep it simple, a day at a time. Make meetings, get sponsors. Stay away from people, places, and things, and just hold on, man. It gets better. And I hope to see a few of you out in Vegas. So have a good night. Thank you.